Hey, welcome back. Let's talk about the power of connection. Do you remember when I was telling you when you're working on being consistent and teaching your children and you're working on the relationship, you're going to see results so much more quickly? This is what I'm talking about. When your kids feel close and connected to you, it's a game changer. When they feel connected to you, they will let you push them. They will let you teach them. They will let you guide them into growth because they want to keep that connection. They will maintain that connection and they know you care about them. They know you love them. I always knew this as a therapist, but as a father, I was amazed at how quickly this took place. I remember when our son was just a toddler and I would spend time with him and he was feeling close to me. He was so much easier to parent. And even recently, there was a time, he's 7 years old now, there was a time where something was just off with him. My wife and I both noticed it. He was more grumpy, more moody, he was slower to respond, he was being a little bit more challenging. Nothing too extreme, but definitely a difference. And as I thought about it, I realized I hadn't been spending much time with him. It was the end of the school year, and it's a very busy time for me. So it's a lot of late nights, and I just hadn't spent a lot of time with him. So I had this idea. I took half a day off, and I picked him up from work. And I said, we're going to have a dude's day. What do you want to do? He wanted to go to the park. So we went to the park, and we played tag. We made an American Ninja Warrior course out of the monkey bars, and we did that till our hands were sore and throbbing. I said, okay, let's go home. What do you want to eat? He wanted to eat hamburgers. Let's make hamburgers. So we ate hamburgers. And we spent the rest of the night playing board games and Minecraft and those kind of stuff. I gave him undivided attention for that period of time. And it made a huge difference. Next morning, I'm getting hugs and he's more compliant and I ask him to do something right away. Same thing, my wife would ask him. He was in a much better mindset. I really believe all that was because he wasn't feeling as close and connected. And the same thing happens with my wife. She spends time with him. He's much more easier to parent. This works for teenagers as well. I had a conversation with a dad. He had 2 teenage daughters and an 11-year-old son. And he had been working a tremendous amount for the last year. And he was a good dad. He cared about his kids, but he just hadn't been there much for them. And he was telling me about how his oldest daughter wouldn't give him the time of day. He'd walk in the room and she would roll her eyes and walk out. He would ask her to do something and she would basically ignore him. Then his wife would come in and ask him to do it and she'd do it right away. And he's saying, what is going on? And I told him, I said, I don't think your kids are convinced that you really care about them, that you really want to spend time with them. So I gave him an assignment. I said, for the next 2 weeks, carve out an hour every day, more if you can, but at least 1 hour, and spend 15 to 20 minutes with each one of your kids talking about nothing but what they want to talk about. Do nothing but what they want to do. So if they want to play shoot hoops, shoot hoops. If they want to play a game, play a game. If they just want to talk about whatever they want to talk about, that's what you do. Focus completely on them. So he said he'd give it a try. When I saw him in 2 weeks, I asked him how it was going, and he said it was going pretty well. Now, he told me at first it was really difficult, especially with his oldest daughter. He would just sit at the edge of her bed, and she would hardly ignore or acknowledge him. She would watch YouTube videos, and that was pretty much it. But eventually, she started letting him watch the videos with her, and then she started talking with him. And he told me just the other day that he was walking by her room, and normally when she wouldn't give him the time of day, but she saw him walk by and stopped him and said, hey Dad, come in here, talk with me for a little bit. Blew his mind. And the reason it was turning around was he focused his undivided attention. He showed that he really cared about them, and they came to believe that he loved them, and that, they became very connected. And that's what he needed to do. When you're feeling connected to your kids and your kids are feeling connected to you, it really changes things. And that's what I want for you. So maybe even take that challenge. especially in the beginning. The first month when you're working this step, it takes about a month for things to turn around, but it really helps when you're focused on connecting with them. So take that 15 minutes, that 20 minutes, and just give undivided attention. Even if it's boring, even if it's like nails on a chalkboard to you just don't really like what they want to do. As long as it's safe and it's healthy, focus on them. It makes a huge difference. You want your children to know you care about them and you want to be connected. So those two things are huge. Lesson 1, having trust. Lesson 2, having connection. In lesson number 3, we're going to talk about something really cool. It is celebration, how you celebrate success with your kids, which is another huge part about building connection and a strong relationship with your kids. So I will see you in lesson number 3.